Okay, we are ready to fire the kiln. We've loaded properly as per instructions, and it's time to load the kiln. So according to Glencoe regulations, the kiln must be off at 9 o'clock at night. So some of our scheduling and loading, scheduling, and firing times are relative to the regulation that the kiln cannot fire overnight when there's nobody around the building. So at 9 o'clock at night, no matter where the firing is, someone's going to come in and shut this place down, shut the kiln down. So we have to schedule our firings, we have to load, program the kiln so that it goes off, reaches temperature, the proper temperature, before the close down time. And that makes things a little bit more interesting. So the very first thing, you're going to come in here, if this is a SCUT automatic kiln, it's essentially a computer controlled kiln, so there's no switches that we're going to be turning to low, medium, or high like a lot of kilns used to be, and a lot still are. This really can fire by itself when programmed. So it's a pretty neat invention. A lot of different companies make it. SCUT is a company that's here in Portland. If you own a SCUT kiln and have any problems, or if you're firing this and there's nobody around to ask, and SCUT is open, call them, ask for a technician, tell them the problem that you're having, and they will often be able to help you over the phone. Okay, great company, family run, fantastic. I have SCUT kilns, yes. So if there's nothing here lit up, then that means the power here on the wall is shut down. We come over here, we flip that switch to the up position. You now notice that this comes on. There's a reading, a PF, these are all abbreviations. There's a manual that tells you what these abbreviations mean. This means power failure, means that the power was off. No big deal. We come over here, we hit stop, we hit enter. And now we're clear. It's telling me that it's idling. That means it's not doing anything. It's telling me that it's 77 degrees in here inside the kiln. There's a thermocoupler pyrometer that's in the kiln that's reading temperature, and that's how it knows what's going on. So right now we're in kind of the waiting mode to be fired. There's two different modes that this kiln can be fired on. One is called the cone fire mode. There's 3 different speeds: slow, medium, fast. Even the slow mode is relatively pretty fast. And then there's the ramp hold, where you can program your own rise and climb and hold of the kiln. So for a bisque firing, when things are wet, and in the case of the leaves here, which are probably our most perfect example of an easy thing to bisque fire, because these are thin, they're consistent thickness throughout, they're very light, and they will dry completely very quickly. So we might be able to use the cone fire mode. But to make things safe, it's best not to blow things up. So what we've decided to do is to have always 1 day ahead of our firing, or it can be 2 days or 3 days, but have a day where we're just doing a preheating of the greenware to drive all the moisture off, so that the next day when we program it to actually fire to bisque temperature, we're able to go relatively fast and make that 9 o'clock p.m. deadline. Essentially, if it's a thick piece like this here that's very solid, maybe 1 inch thick in places, normally I would preheat this, and by preheating I mean keep it below boiling point. Just like your pasta water, you're watching it, it's not boiling yet, it's getting hot, but until it boils, before it boils, it's evaporating and all the molecules aren't jumping around. When the water inside clay boils is when it explodes the piece. So as long as we stay 200 or below, boiling point is 220, we will drive the moisture off without activating all those molecules into that expansion mode, which then says blow up. So what we want to do is preheat for a day, where all we're going to do is drive all the moisture off that clay piece, and then make sure that the next time we go to program it to actually do the bisque firing, we don't have to spend that time. You know, because it's all about spending time below 200 or below to drive that moisture off. The rest of the firing can go relatively fast because the moisture has been driven off. The physical water and the chemical water has been driven off. So in that case, what we're going to do for the preheat firing, we're going to say ramp hold, press it. Whenever you choose a command, you always press enter. So this says user 1. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a little chart in here saying user 1 is this program. It's the preheat program. And if somebody just keeps that and doesn't alter it, then all they have to do is go into the program system, user 1, say enter, and boom, we're going to be on that program. So I'm going to program user 1 to be a preheat. So right now what this is saying is segment, and it's saying 4 segments. So the ramp hold has segments, and each segment is going to ask you 3 questions that you have to program in. The first question is how many degrees per hour do you want to climb? So how fast do you want to walk? Second, or run. Second question is, where do you want to go to? What temperature do you want to go to? Let's say 200 degrees. And then third question is, how long do you want to hang out there? You know, and for pieces like this, I would hang out there at least 6 hours. Pieces like this, I would hang out there 4 hours maybe. And that will ensure me that it all drives the moisture out. So if we segments, it's only preheating. We only need 1 segment, because all we're going to do is go to 200 at a certain rate of climb. We're going to stay there for X amount, and then it's going to shut itself off. So we're going to say 1, and then we hit enter. So we have user 1. It's telling me right now that it's going to go 300 degrees per hour. We do not want that. We want 100 degrees per hour. Enter. And we're going to go to, second question is where we're going to. We're going to 200, the 200 block. Enter. And now it says hold. How long do we want to hold there? If I have all leaves in there, then I can do 4 hours. If I have all leaves and 2 big thick pieces, I have to fire for these pieces. Even though there's only 2 pieces in there, this is my lowest common denominator, meaning the thickest piece and the slowest I have to go for this. If I take these out, I can fire faster. Okay, does that make sense? So we're going to pretend that we have this in there. So we're going to say 7 hours. Enter. The alarm is set at 9,999. It will not ever reach that temperature. Great. We are not going to have an alarm that goes off. The alarm is so that if you needed to know that your kiln has reached temperature at 200 degrees, it's going to go off, or it'll go off and alert you. But we don't want alarms going off here to freak people out. So we're going to set that alarm at 999. So if you, anytime you agree with something that's on the screen, if you just hit enter, that means you agree, even though you don't punch into anything. So now it's idle. So now we're all ready. We hit start. It'll read on. You will hear a clicking noise. That's the elements firing on, then they'll fire off. they'll pulse, fire on, fire off. Meanwhile, the thermocoupler barometer device in there is reading the temperature. It is making sure that it doesn't go more than 100 degrees per hour. It's going to go to 200 and it's going to keep clicking on and off in order to hold that temperature at 200 degrees. After 7 hours of being held at 200 degrees, the kiln will shut itself off. Okay, and then it'll cool overnight. And it takes pretty much 6 to 12 hours for a kiln to cool in order to be unloaded, so that it's not so hot to touch. Okay, depending on how much wear is in there, how many shelves and how much wear. So right now it's firing on and off, and we're good to go. So it's ready to go. We're going to shut the kiln lid. This little thing lifts up. This comes down. Boom. There is a fan system for this hood that will vent out any toxic smells. Set that for 12 hours. Probably more than we need, but it's going to get that set. You will hear this thing click on. And it's pulling anything from here, getting rid of excess heat that's coming off of here. It's pretty well insulated. You could usually almost touch this outside. Make sure that there's never anything combustible on this lid. It's real easy for people when this is cold. Right now, doesn't seem like anything bad, and they leave their little piece of paper up there. Well, later in the day, when this was a glaze firing or a true bisque firing, this is going to get to about 1800, 1900 degrees in there, and the top of this kiln especially gets hot enough where it might ignite this, or in a case that happened one time, melt a plastic bucket that was left up there. If at any time you want to stop this, you can hit stop, enter. Now it's stopped. If you want to, if you come over here and hit ramp hold, and it says user 1, that's the user you want for the preheat system, and I press enter, you can hit review, and what it'll do, user 1, 1 segment, 100 degrees per hour to 200, hold 7 hours. So it just scrolled through the information that's in there. So if you need to know that if you did it right, or if it's set right up for yourself the way it should be, you can scroll through by hitting review down here. Okay? I can hit stop, enter. Now everything is off again. Okay, so now we get done with our bisque fire, our preheat. Everything is dry. The next day or whenever you're going to come in and actually do the real bisque firing, you come back in here. You're going to hit cone fire. So it says PRHT, preheat. So cone fire does have a preheat mode. You could do that, but again, preheat plus the firing will not get us done by 9 o'clock at night. So what we're going to do is just say 0 for preheat. So we hit enter. What cone do you want to go to? This says 06. 06 is the cone we want to bisque fire to. That's 1,815 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way. So that's the bisque temperature that'll allow things to get to this hardness. It has now been fired, but it's still porous, so it'll absorb a glaze. So cone 06, enter. Speed, SPD, fast, nope. Slow, we still want to go slow. Enter, hold. We don't need to hold at the back end of it. So it says 0, enter. Then we could say start. And that's a very simple way of doing that bisque. You would not do this if you didn't do the preheat, that we did the day before. If you had thick things, if all you had were those thin leaves, you could probably take the cone fire mode, put a preheat of 2 to 4 hours onto that cone fire mode, where it said preheat and we said 0, you could say 3 hours of preheat below 200, and then have it go to its temperature, 06. Okay? So it really depends on the dryness, the thickness of the pieces. For a glaze fire, you can either use the slow or the medium. Probably the medium would be the most beneficial in terms of time. We're going to say a lot of the commercial glazes that the people use here are kind of 05, 04 glazes. It kind of depends on what the jar says, the glaze jar. So we would say, here we come, we've loaded it with glazed ware that's raw. We'd say cone fire. Stop. Cone fire preheat. We don't need a preheat for a glaze firing. Enter cone. Let's say it says 05. We hit 05. We hit enter, the command. Speed, we're going to choose medium. We hit enter. Hold, we're not going to do any hold. We're going to hit enter, and then we would hit start. If the idle mode is on, it's just going to sit there in idle mode. You could go run off and do something for an hour, come back, and then hit start. I would probably check to make sure that nobody's fooled with your kiln in the meantime, but most likely they haven't. Okay? So you come in the next morning. This should read here CMPL complete, and it'll be flashing a time of how long it took to do that firing. So it might say 12.30, so it's 12 hours and 30 minutes that it took to get there on that medium speed. Not a bad idea to look at that, maybe even take notes on that so that you know how close to that 9 o'clock shut-off time that you came, you know, and that it also made it there. If the janitor comes in at 9 o'clock and shuts you down, it's going to read power failure, or it'll have an error message. And somewhere there should be a Scut Kiln manual. If not, we'll try to get a hold of one. And then you can look up what those error messages mean. Sometimes the kiln gets old, the elements get tired. It can't do what you're telling it to do because it's too tired to do it. And then it'll read error or something or another. It'll flash an error message. Okay? So I think, so it fires, you unload carefully. Once you unload, now it's bisque. It's going to be a lot less fragile. If it's glazed, you're going to undo the glaze firing. You got Christmas presents for everybody. You're going to clean the shelves and put the kiln coating on them if need be. Chisel off any broken glaze so that it's ready for the next person so they don't have to do that. You know, you don't want to just blow out of here. Bad, bad, bad. Bad kiln karma. Okay, so I think we are finished with our instructional video. I thank you so much, and I hope you have happy firings.